What's going on, guys? So when I started doing these vlogs, if you haven't watched my other videos, I promised that I was gonna record most of my life events, well, if not all, that are had impacts on my life and had some good impacts or bad impacts, things that happened that were good and bad. Just basically record everything because why? I want to document everything, you know? I want to make sure I look back on these and remember the times. So just by the title, you can already tell that this is somewhat of a really sad time of my life that just recently happened. My grandma passed away almost a week ago now. I think it was almost like 8 days. It's been 8 days now that she passed away, and yeah, it's actually really sad. And the only reason I decided to make this video is to let you know why I haven't been making videos on both my channels. I don't know if I'm gonna upload both these videos on my vlogging channel and my gaming channel just to let people know where I've been and stuff. But this is just to tell you what happened and what's been going on. And if you're not interested, you know what, perfectly fine. You can leave the video. No hate comments, please. I would really appreciate if you guys kept my family and pray for my grandma if you believe in that, and just wish for the best, you know. But yeah, so what happened was my grandma, she was very sick. Like you've seen my previous videos where I visit her in the hospital, and I've done that, and I decided to do this video now almost a week later is because I had to get my emotions together. You know, I don't want to be like crying and stuff because I just been out of it, and I wanted to make sure that I was okay to do this video and just like be okay doing it. And so yeah, on to the other things. So my grandma was sick for a while, and this all started in 2012, I believe, where we were at a party, a family dinner, and it was during the winters in November or December. I can't quite remember. And she was that day she was perfectly fine. My grandma was really active. She did everything, cook, clean, anything that had to be done at home, she would do. And she was around 81 years old, I think, or 82. She's around 80s, and she did everything. She was active as heck, and she was just very active basically. And so we had that family dinner, and the day after that, my dad gets a call from his sisters saying that mom wasn't feeling well and that she needs to go to the hospital. And so they took her to the hospital, and they couldn't understand what was going on at the beginning. Like the family didn't understand what was going on, but she was diagnosed with pneumonia. She had pneumonia, and I didn't look too much into it because I thought it was, yeah, it's pneumonia, it's a serious thing, but hopefully it could like be treated and she would get better quickly. So I wasn't paying too much attention to it because I was just like, okay, that's not good, but hopefully now she's getting treated at the hospital. That's good. So we thought it was just for it was like a temporary thing, and she was gonna get better real quick, but that wasn't the case. She was in the hospital for around like a month, and during that month, my family and family members, my cousins, and we all made a choice of taking turns staying at the hospital with my grandma, and it was mostly my dad's younger sister that stayed there most of the time because she was out of work at that point, just to take care of her, and she just wanted to be around her. So she would stay overnight mostly, but my mom would rotate sometimes and my aunt would rotate sometimes. So it was like a mixture of everyone taking turns, you know, making sure that someone was always there. And yeah, so like months went by and she was just getting sick, and we just started seeing her acting differently. She wouldn't be that active. She was fighting this thing inside of her, which was really bad. And during this time, they gave her so many pills, and like I'm baffled still thinking about how many pills she was taking in a day. Like at least 10 pill cases were in her medicine box where she was taking all 10 of those, and it was to help her blood pressure stay low, just different factors, irons, and just everything that was going on inside of her, and just to fight it off, make sure it doesn't like do any more harm. And she was taking these antibiotics, and antibiotics, personally, I hate antibiotics. They're really harsh and really bad for you. I had a cough like a couple of months back, and my cough, when I get this cough, it doesn't go away, and I've had that cough I had for like 2 months, and I got it recently again, and I'm taking antibiotics now to fight it. But antibiotics are really harsh. She was taking TBs and all these different, like a huge amount of pills, uh, which you shouldn't ever take. No human should be taking that many pills, and especially at her age, she was like, I don't know how she did it, but she's a fighter. She did it, and so that was the case. And after last year, she was given the good to go home, change the scenario because you don't want to be in the hospital for too long. You know, it makes the person depressed. And so the doctors released her. She went home, and she wasn't the same after that day. My grandma, after that day where she caught that pneumonia, she just fully changed. My grandma was so active. She did everything, and you know, she was like all joy, laughter, and she would do so much. But after that day, she wasn't the same, and you could tell she was fighting something inside that was hurting her. And we were just all really sad to see her go through all of this. So when she was at home, she wasn't talking. She wouldn't. She would just be in this phase where she wouldn't talk to anyone. She wouldn't eat anything. That was the biggest concern, that she wasn't eating properly. And she would just sit on the bed downstairs because they set up a bed and made sure. And there was a nurse there. They got a nurse to make sure she would come check up on her, make sure everything's okay, and just make sure everything's working okay. And she would just be phasing out, not thinking, not doing anything, just having her eyes closed, feeling sleepy, and she would nod off. And these seeing this was like really really hard, you know, for like the family. And personally, me, I was really close with my grandma, like, but yeah. So she was in these phases, and we couldn't figure out why this was happening. And I think one of the days, like current years, 2013, um, being out of the hospital for so long, we thought she would get better, but that wasn't the case again. And my uncle has a lot of friends that are doctors, and they said that the way she is right now, the way she's acting, like she's in a state where she's like always trying to, like always falling asleep, and her iron is low. Maybe that's the case, and it's not good. You should go get it checked out. Go to the hospital. Just go to emergency, because what's happening is not safe, and it should be looked into right away. So they took her to the hospital, and that was probably the last trip that she would be home, because after that she just, you know, she was gonna die. But so she was in the hospital this year, 2013, starting in 2013, like during August, I believe. And she they couldn't figure out what was going on. Like her body was going through so many phases. Like sometimes there were her iron was low. She had a low blood count. Red blood cells would be low, and these things would fluctuate like differently at different times, randomly. If one thing was okay, the other thing will go wrong in her body, and these things were affecting her a lot. And at this point, I think she was off like TB and all these antibiotics, and she did her cycle of all those. But she was still taking some medicines to help her get better. And my aunt was the one, like this, my dad's smaller sister. She was the one staying there mostly, and we make time to go see her, and she'd be happy when like the kids came and sat with her, talked to her. She would be so responsive. The thing is, even though she was battling whatever was happening inside of her, every time a kid, like my nephew, every time he'd go, she'd have a smile on her face. Even though she wasn't talking, like interacting, you could tell she was feeling better because she had kids there. I would make her laugh. You know, I'd do anything in my power to make sure she was happy, and just make sure that, you know, I could change her mood, even though she was in a hospital and she was going through all this stuff. Like my aunt, my dad, we'd all be sitting around the bed and saying, just cracking jokes. And my dad's like, "Go talk to your grandma, you know, talk to her, ask her stuff." And she'd be responsive. That's the crazy thing. Even though she was going through all these things, she would answer all my questions. She would remember everything from the past. Just go down memory lane, and she would answer everything that you ask her. So after a while, we started noticing she was just getting worse. You know, she wasn't getting better. And every time, like the doctor would check up on her and say that, you know, we can't figure out what was going on with her. My grandma, during the hospital visit, like the time she stayed at the hospital during last year and continuation from this year, she got so many tests done like every single test you can think of, she got done just to figure out, so the doctors could figure out what was going on with her. Like they couldn't pinpoint what was actually happening with her. You know, they had they did an MRI, they did bone density scan, they did so many tests. You know, like test after test. She's got every single test done, possibly known. You know, that could be done, and they still couldn't pinpoint what was happening with her, and they speculated that she may have cancer somewhere, but they weren't sure. It was being formed somewhere, but they didn't know where exactly. And we all have cancer cells, you know, but they're not developed into cancer. But they were saying that her cells were the cancer cells were developing somewhere, but they couldn't understand where though. So they did a lot of tests to figure out where, but everything showed up negative. Like that's the crazy part during the whole process. All these test results came negative. That she was fine. There was nothing showing that it was impacting her. So it was just all like a surprise when this was happening, and going through all this was really hard for the family. You know, just just staying strong for her. She'd say, "I want to go home," you know, and we every time we'd hope that the doctor would give us some good news, like one day that she's doing well, she would be eating, she would be doing everything that's good, you know, like positive signs, and then like every time we'd pray that she can finally come home and like you know just get out of the hospital because she was there for so long. Um, it didn't work out like that because when that happened, she would get sick and they wouldn't let her go, and so this continued for a while, and then during the beginning of March, that's when everything went downhill. Doctors started feeding us, well, feeding my parents and sisters, the family, letting them know that you should be ready for whatever happens because this thing that's happening with her is not good and anything can happen at any time. So, like, I can't fully remember when it started, so I think around the 1st of March, we could see that she was feeling very sick and she wasn't getting better. And my dad, like, months before, my dad would say, you know, like you could feel it, like he was hurting inside. Every time I'd ask how, like, every time I'd come home, I'd be like, "How's grandma? You know, how's she doing?" Because he'd constantly go and check up on her, stay with her, talk to her and stuff. And I'd ask him how's she doing, and he felt deep inside, and he told me straight up, he's like, "Yo, I don't think grandma's gonna get better." And this is like before anything happened, just hearing that really hurt my like I was hurt, you know, thinking about it, but you could tell he was hurting as well. So I'm just like, you know, just stay positive. You never know what can happen. You know, she'll get better. And we just tried keeping the hope alive. But yeah, first week of March, I think this was on a Monday where one of the days, I think that was the day when I finally like I my dad called me. No, so I think it was a Wednesday. I can't remember the days. But one of the days, my dad got a call late at night saying how good at all, and doctor said you should come. My dad, his brother, went down like 11 o'clock at night. Um, this place is an hour away. The hospital she was in, it was an hour away, so he went late at night, and I was like up. I couldn't sleep. I was doing some work, and he calls me at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and he says how she's not doing well. You know, you should bring mom because my mom didn't go, and you should bring mom and come right now, just in case, you know. So we went. I took her to the hospital, and my dad was outside waiting for my mom, and my cousin came. And I wanted to go see my grandma because I was waiting in the car because I just dropped my mom off. But my dad's like, just see her in the morning, you know. I'm like, I just want to see her before anything happens. I want to say I love you and just say my final words if God forbid anything happens. And he's like, don't worry, just come in the morning. So I didn't end up going home. I had class the next day, but that whole week I took off because of the situation. That night we were all getting ready because we thought that was gonna be the last night that we were gonna see our grandma. And you know, I couldn't sleep. I went to my cousin's house, just like a couple of minutes away from the hospital, and we were just talking like about life and just I was trying to make him feel better. I've been just saying, you know, whatever happens, it's all in God's hands, and you know, it's just what it is. And we both couldn't sleep that whole night. I stayed awake. I was thinking about a lot of things. Like I said, I was really close to my grandma, and like she's done so much for me and my family, and like she's just genuinely the nicest, with an amazing heart person, you know, I ever met. And she actually bought me my first gaming laptop, not my laptop, but my desktop computer when I had nothing and my parents couldn't afford it for me. My grandma was like, "Don't worry about it, you know, I'll buy it for you." And back then, it was a customized laptop. It was worth like $1,000, and she paid for it. Sorry about that. I don't know why my printer's going off, but yeah, yeah, it was really expensive. The laptop, the desktop, and it provided me with countless, like 4 or 5 years of entertainment, which I would have never had if I didn't have that. I played so many games thanks to her, and you know, I enjoyed myself for a very long time just because she helped me and get my first computer. And those are just one of the memories that really affected me. So just thinking about that, she may not be here anymore, you know. But oh, by the way, this is the computer I was talking about. It's very old now, but that's the one I was talking about. Yeah. That morning, I was expecting a bad call from my dad. So I get a call around like 9 a.m. and my dad's like, you know what, doctor says she's okay, randomly, because at first they said that she wasn't gonna make it, and now they're saying that she's okay. Her breathing's okay. That her on 100% oxygen, and she was gonna be okay. She wasn't. Nothing was happening at that point, and I'm like, thank God. You know, I felt so relieved. My cousin was like happy, you know, we were all just really excited, you know, and we're like, okay, she's gonna get better. So we went to the hospital to pick up my parents. We were gonna go home and rest for a bit, and they were gonna come back, but I had work, so I went to go see my grandma for just go see how she was doing, check up on her, and this is the first time I've seen my grandma like that. Like she normally in the hospital, she would be on, like she would sit up on the bed, and you know she'd be okay, she'd be out of it a bit, but she was okay. She'd be okay. But this time, like I saw her on this is the first time I saw her on oxygen and she was breathing. Her eyes, when I looked her in her eyes, I'm like, what the hell? Like her eyes were watering, her pupils were dilated, like they were. You could tell like they were teared up like crazy because she was struggling to breathe. But you could tell like the light and the life in her wasn't there anymore. You know, I just saw this and I felt it, and I'm just like, this is not right. You know, something is not right here. But they said that she was doing better. Like nurses were there, and so many people were there, and they were gonna feed her. And I'm like, okay, grandma, you know, I was looking at her and I'm like, grandma, you okay? You know, I love you and I'll see you soon. I'll be back. And I think that was the last time I actually saw my grandma awake. You know, and I went home. I was at work. I get a call. My dad comes. My dad calls me at work, and he says, "It's not good." And I'm like, "What? The doctor said she was fine." But he's like, "No, she's not. She's probably not gonna make it. You should come home. Let's go right now." And I instantly got that call. I left work. I told my manager what was going on. And luckily it was good. They didn't like. They were really lenient about it. They said, "Just go right away. Don't worry, man. Family comes first," and that's how it was. We quickly drove down. At this point, my brother was in Mexico for work, and my cousin, she was in San Francisco or somewhere for work as well. So those two weren't even here. My older cousins were there, and we were driving down, and my dad's like, let your brother know that this is happening, and just in case, you know, you can't hide something like this. He probably wants to see grandma too before anything happens. And I texted him, and he was heartbroken, and it was just crazy. So we ended up in the hospital. I was gonna stay ready for whatever I saw after I passed that door. You know, got into the room, and I just see family around crying, like, and I'm weak-hearted. I can't see people crying, or I can't go to like cemeteries, and like, it just hurts me a lot. I can't see people cry and like just see the situation. You know, I tried staying strong, but I just seeing my grandma like that. She was like just laying on the bed, and she had oxygen on her, but she wasn't conscious. She was like she was just breathing, and the way she was breathing, it wasn't like normal breaths. Like it was quick breathing. Like she wasn't getting all the oxygen she needed at that point, and we knew it was like coming to that point where she wasn't gonna make it. So we prepared our minds and just got ready for this. It was hard, you know, and times like that, those are really hard. And the following day, that Friday, I think we all were talking about this and saying how she had her whole family there at that point, like my cousins, my mom, my aunt, everyone was there. You know, everyone, her family, her immediate family was there, and that doesn't always happen. My brother and my cousin that were out of country, they flew down like the next day, and they were there. And I think that's what my grandma was waiting for, is for the whole family to be there. My brother and my cousin, which they were far away, and she was staying, keeping herself. She was breathing. She was keeping herself alive until everyone was there. And then, you know, that Saturday morning, that Friday night, we were all together. We stayed at the hospital all day, and like we stayed around our grandma just talking about things, because the doctor said she was she was unconscious, but she could still hear everything that was going on in the room. We were just talking about memories, the good times we had. I think that just happened, and how she did so much for us, and we all loved her and stuff. So and that Friday night, all the women, like my aunt, my mom, my dad's sisters, my aunt, they all stayed at the hospital. But all the guys, like, we went home to get some rest because no one was sleeping. And we knew that was probably the last night, and then it was gonna happen, and we were all expecting it. So we went home. That Saturday morning, that when it happened was my dad gets a call, and he quickly wakes me and my brother up. We weren't sleeping. We only slept literally an hour, and we woke up. We rushed to the hospital, and I've never seen my dad cry. And I'm not even exaggerating. My dad doesn't cry. He's not the type of person that cries. No matter what the situation is, he's never cried. But this is the first time I've seen my dad cry. Like 21 years, and it's first time. He got a call from his brother, and my dad just started crying, saying mom's gone, and stuff. And it was just, I couldn't handle that. It was seeing my dad cry was just, it hurt a lot, and went to the hospital. We were all there. It was just all these memories that were coming down, just seeing my grandma laying there. The aunts were saying how she took her last breath after they said that she wasn't breathing. They took off the oxygen. They were just telling us what happened when this happened, like in the morning, how they took off the oxygen. They said, we're going to take this off. And they said that her last breath that she took was the most calm that we've seen. It was like a relief. She was like, and then that's when she died, and just hearing that is like she's at peace now, going through all that stuff. She just was fighting for so long, and she just wanted some, she just finally had that relief, and we were happy for her that she was finally she was out of all that pain that she was going through for such a long time. And doctor gave us two options before, saying you can either put her on life support and keep her blood pumping and stuff, but we decided not to, because it's morally wrong. Whatever your beliefs are, but we thought it was morally wrong putting her on life support, because the procedure is 50-50. They said that she either makes it or she doesn't during the procedure, either way. But if she does make it, they cut this part open and add tubes into it to help your blood pump, and you're basically not alive anymore. You're not doing anything for yourself. They didn't want to do it, so she went away. We did a funeral. That whole experience was honestly one of the worst things that have ever happened in my life, and I've seen death before, but not firsthand like this. My friend died a while ago, a couple of years ago, and that was heartbreaking as well. But just the whole process was just insane. But it's life. You there's a lesson here. You should always never take your family for granted. Like people close to you. Always tell them that you love them, and hopefully my grandma knew that we all loved her, and I'm pretty sure she did. And she had her whole family there at the end of the day. Everyone was there. Everyone was like for her. We were all there for her, and that's how it was, and that's how it should be. And that's what's been going on. So I waited a week. We're still trying to understand and come to terms with what happened. Make sure, it's still hard to believe that she's not here anymore, and we're still trying to come to terms with it. It hurts. But we're trying to spend time with our family, making sure that everyone's like the whole family is good. It's life, so that's why always let people close to you know that you love them, because you never know what life throws at you, and anything can happen at any point. So that's what happened. So just keep my family in your thoughts. I appreciate all the good feedback. Just pray for us basically, and that's all. That's all I want to say. I just want to fill you guys in with what happened. I'm sorry for letting the video be too long. If you stuck around for the whole thing, thank you, and stay safe. And I'll see you guys soon. I'm gonna get back on the grind. Making videos, get back to normal routines, because this whole experience has been a hard experience. And my grandma, I told her about what I was trying to do. Like, I was doing this YouTube thing as a fun thing. It seemed like fun. She was like, "It's a good idea. You should do it." And but she said, "I believe in you," and you know what? That's all I needed. Her saying that she believed in me, and she knew I'll accomplish a lot of things in my life, and that's what I needed. I needed a little jolt from her, and I feel fresh and knew that I'm never gonna give up on anything I do. Whether it's YouTube things or real life things, whatever the case is, and I'm gonna struggle and do my best, and that's all I needed. I'm thankful she gave me that advice at that point. So thank you for watching, guys. Sorry for the video being this long. And you know what? Take care. I'll see you guys later.